Hi guys, it's Adam Silas here again with Faith Moves Forward, and I told my first part of my faith story, and want to pick up right there where I left off. First, let's do a quick recap. We talked about faith is Hebrews 11:1 talks about faith is the confidence in things and the assurance of things not seen, confidence of things hoped for, the assurance of things not seen. And I talked a little about how I first got saved and I was 10, and then I talked about troubles with the law, and I left off right about there. And so I want to pick up right there. But first, go ahead and click like, subscribe, and share this with your friends and family. I think this will all bless you all. How this, this is my testimony. This is my life. So as I said, we are back in when I had the peace of God come on me, and later on begin to fall asleep. And then it was around late evening when I actually heard my name and got bonded out. So long story short, I ended up going with the public defender. I didn't have any money to pay an attorney, even though I was given counsel that, I should hire the attorney that I couldn't afford, and that everything would be all right, which, I knew at the time that wasn't the case. And so ended up having a public defender. The best case scenario was that the charges would be dismissed and go our separate ways immediately. The second best option was a pre-trial diversion, which would include like community service and anger management. And so when I got to the courthouse on my court date, I met with the public defender. It was her first time on the job, and ended up getting the state recommended the pretrial diversion because it was my first time doing that. And so I did all my community service, met a wonderful man that, helped shape my thought process at the time, where I was kind of feeling like the system was a little bit against me and things of that nature, but kind of made me take responsibility and accountability for my own actions. Because at that point in time, I did not know that I actually pushed the cop. I know I said that in part one, but my feelings at the time was that somebody was pushing me and I was just backing up. But then when I talked to one of my good friends, he told me, no, I definitely pushed the cop, but I did not know it was a cop. And so I'm really grateful that I didn't, I wouldn't have knowingly perjured myself, because I honestly didn't believe that. But I would have hated to have gone to trial on something so silly and ridiculous, and then hear the testimony of my friends and loved ones say that, yes, I did push the cop. And yeah, that wouldn't have been a good idea. So anyways, so around that time, the economy is really, really bad. Businesses are closing, lots of things. I ended up losing my job, and was searching for a job. I ended up car salesman for a bid, just doing whatever I could in order to make money and pay my bills. And I had some friends that came to me, and they told me this, like, listen, man, you don't need to worry about trying to be a businessman. You're different. You were built different. You need to be helping kids, helping others. That's what your purpose is on this earth. And it was really kind of profound that they thought about me in that way. And so I was really floored at that. Just having a kind of understanding of, you know, they know who I am. They've known, the changes. This is about 6 months to a year of the changes that God was dealing with me, and so I was really, really flattered that they saw the difference in me as well. But I still needed money. I still needed to pay bills, still had things to do, all that kind of stuff. And so I'm running out of money, sleeping on couches, wherever I could. And then a friend of mine gives me a call and says, "Hey man, I got a job for you in Bradenton if you want it." I'm like, "Bradenton? I don't want to move to Bradenton." Um, the friends that I had in Orlando, a lot of them were from Bradenton, Florida, and so I had been there a couple of times with them, to visit family and friends, their family and friends, and things like that. And I didn't like Bradenton. I felt like Bradenton was honestly, a poor, um, poor, worse off town than my hometown. And so I was like, I might as well just move back home where I got people that I know and connections rather than to move to Bradenton. But going through the situation I have went through the year before, I knew whatever I did, I needed to have peace in it. Moving back home, that's that's whatever. That's probably been the easier route, honestly. But then moving to Bradenton, where I know a few people and got a job waiting on me, and I really didn't want to go. And so as I'm praying about it, I'm like, Lord, if this is for me, then I need to have peace in this moment. And as the weekend came, I had peace, and so I gathered up all my things and I moved to Bradenton and took the job. And as I was staying there, I was, working and really not doing a whole bunch. And a friend of mine invited me to her church. She said it was a little small church and that she think I'd like it. I'm like, okay, great, cool. I don't have anything to lose, right? And I was missing that, community of faith that was essential to my growth at that point in time in life. So I did it. I went to the church and I sat in the parking lot. Well, first I'm trying to find the church and I'm like expecting to see a sign or something that says the church name and nothing. And she tells me that, oh, it's in a storefront church. I was like, okay, that's wonderful. My dad has pastored storefront churches, so, it's like home. And as I sat and I finally found it, I began to break down and cry because it was just surreal that, it's kind of like God was taking me back to my roots a little bit. And as I walked in, everybody was so friendly and nice and welcoming and loving, and I really felt at home. So I joined the worship team as a drummer, and then a couple of weeks later, after being on the worship team, I met my future wife. At the time, I did not know that. I did not know that she was going to be my wife, obviously. But number one, I wasn't looking. Number two, we didn't have the best first impression. She she is a little. She can come off a little business-like. It's like, "Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you." Da, 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 da. Let's get straight to it, type thing. And that's the way she came off to me. And she was like, "Who are you? Why are you playing the drums? This and that." Da 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 da. And it's a church of like 30, 40 people. So it's not a church where you're not going to notice something or something like that, And, and so I introduced myself and I was just like, whoa, okay, this is one person I have to stay away from. And so I did for about, the first month, but I'm also the new guy in town and everybody's inviting me places. They're inviting me to lunch. They're inviting me to hang out. Oh, we're gonna be at this place. You want to come? Sure. I have nothing else to do. If I'm not working, then I don't have anything else to do. And everywhere I would go, she would be there. But what I began to notice about her is that she had a personality. She was funny. She was engaging and joking. And I'm like, is this the same person that I met a while back? And so we just became around the same circle of friends and started to get to know each other. And fast forward a little bit, and we are at the church one Sunday. She comes up to me and she is talking about something that the pastor preached on, and asked me what I think, and I was like, "Yeah, this is all sounds good. Like, I can definitely see, taking a role in the church leadership and things like that." And one of the roles was prayer coordinator. It's like, yeah, I love to pray. I think it's really essential, obviously, to the Christian life. and so and so she's like, so you see yourself doing anything? I was like, yeah, I definitely could be a prayer coordinator. And she's like, well, that's my job. So, but we can. I was like, would you like to pray together? And she's like, yeah. I have a slot in the prayer room that was recently built in the Sarasota Sister Church. And so we set up a time during my slot to come pray, and we are going to invite a bunch of people from the Bradenton Church to pray, and that was going to be like the time that we spent to pray for the Bradenton Church, because I would go in by myself and just pray and just meditate. I've been doing that honestly for I don't even realize that how long I have been finding a space for myself to pray to God by myself on a weekly basis. It just kind of dawned on me that I've been doing that for 12 years now, about 12 years now, and that is essential to who I am, essential to how I operate, and essential to my faith in Christ, and the history that we've had, and the future as well, as we continue to grow deeper and spiritually in Him. He continues to show His faithfulness to me and my family. And so, let's get back to the story. Sorry about that little tangent. But anyway, so, the first couple of times we met, it would just be me and her in the prayer room. And I had, when she started praying, she opened up this big old King James Version Bible and just started reading the Psalms and declaring the heavenly authorities. And I had never heard prayer at that point in time in my life, someone doing that. And so it was just like, it was surreal to me, but I was attracted to it. I was attracted to the beauty in the way she spoke. And the first time it was just, we kind of like doing a tag team thing. And then the next couple of times we met, she prayed over me. And I had never had somebody pray over me in that way. I mean, I've had people pray over me, obviously. But like in that particular way that she did it, it was just really, really beautiful and precious. And at this point in time, neither one of us, I don't believe, have any feelings besides friendship for each other. But it kind of began to open my eyes to the possibilities of it. And that was, it's so mind-boggling to sit back and think of it, because just a year or two earlier, I was so caught up in fornication and pornography that I couldn't see the beauty in a relationship with a woman that wasn't self-pleasing to me. And then fast forward a couple of years, and I'm seeing beauty in a person that is outside of physical, and it's strictly spiritual, which was obviously new for me. And so, we continue to hang out and find each other at sort of places. We had a group that would spend time on Mondays at a Starbucks, and just laugh and joke and, get to know each other. And one day, I knew this guy was kind of interested in her, but I didn't really think anything of it, and she didn't know at the time. And so we're all talking about hockey, and he mentions to her, it's like, oh, I love hockey games. I was like, we should. And he goes to her, we should go sometime. And my wife Bethany, she looks at me and says, this obviously is before she was my wife. She looks at me and says, "Hey Adam, have you ever been to a hockey game? It was so fun." I just kind of like politely say, "Yeah, I don't think he was asking everyone to go." And then she kind of gets silent and takes back. She's like, "Oh," and like she's still kind of clueless of the situation. And so the next time we met in the prayer room, she's talking about how she likes to cook. If you don't know by now, my wife, she can be very, very boisterous and like it's not, she's not bragging, but she's like tries to make people feel comfortable with showing things and this and that, da da da. So she's telling me how much she likes to cook, and honestly, she's just going on and on so fast that she doesn't realize what she says. She says, "Oh, I should have you over for dinner." And I'm like, is she asking me on a date? Like, what is, I'm like, that's all right. And so I said, I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds nice, but I'd be less than a gentleman if I had you, if you had me over before I took you out. And then she gets quiet and silent again, because she's just talking, not really realizing that she invited me, but in her mind, she was thinking of a whole group of people coming over, but that's not what she said. And so I began to think about the possibilities of a relationship for the first time in probably, I'd say, about 2 years. And at that point in time, I'm probably about 2 years, I'm about close to 2 years celibate, and really just had got a lot of that stuff. God has stripped away a lot of that stuff that was in my heart, mind, about women relationships. And I began to see her as a wife and not as an object to lay. I began to see a future to build off of. One, we have the faith. Number two, we both have a lot of things in common as far as, little things like food and fun and adventure. And we both have, really good personalities, but we both have a solid foundation of who Jesus is and who Jesus is for us, not as a couple, but who Jesus was for us as individuals. And that was something that I kind of got some advice about of a couple of years earlier, um, when I was um, just starting to date again. I wouldn't even call it me dating again. I would say it was me dipping my toes, and I was talking to a mentor, and he told me, he said, "Man, if she doesn't love Jesus more than you, don't do it." And that kind of brought, when I met, started to get to know Bethany, that brought me there. And so we began to court. I began to court her, and then we started dating, and then later on we got married. There's a lot more to that story, but not even necessary for this particular thing. But when I moved to Bradenton, I was just moving for a job. That was all that was on my heart. But God gave me so much more. I obviously had a desire to be married, and did not know that that's what was waiting for me. And so me taking that leap of faith and going out to Bradenton, to a place where I knew only a few people there, and starting over from scratch, and just really just, seeing what God had for me in that place, and getting a wife out of it. That was a something that only God could have done, only God could have predicted. He gave me so much more than I wanted or even asked for, and I'm grateful to him. So that is part 2 of my story. I think I do have a part 3. We will definitely go there next time. But thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Click and subscribe if you haven't already, and share this, and hopefully my testimony will bring you hope, or bring someone else hope. Until next time, this is Adam Silas with Faith Moved Forward, and this is your Faith Moved Forward moment. See you guys.